So now we discuss section 2. So we'll be discussing section 3 now. Or no, rather we should just continue with section 2 because some points in section 2 are still remaining. What are they? We saw in 8 to 17th or rather 9 to 17th, Pandavas were pacified. Now Bhishma Dev gives some more points to Pandavas. Now from 18th onwards, in 18th and 21 to 23, Bhishma Dev continues speaking to Pandavas about glories of Shri Krishna. Because in text 17, Bhishma Dev said, follow plan of Lord. So when you are told to follow the plan of the Lord, and that Lord is present as Shri Krishna. So Bhishma Dev now tells Maharaj Yudhishthir that you might be thinking Krishna to be just a maternal cousin, but he is that supreme Lord who looks for everyone's benefit. So now to make this connection, Bhishma Dev, after telling him follow the plan of the Lord, now if you have to motivate someone to follow somebody's plan, you have to say the glories of that personality, that how following Shri Krishna is supremely beneficial. And therefore first in text 18 he mentions the original position of Shri Krishna, that how Shri Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, Narayan, the first Narayan. And then he says he is present in the hearts of all living entities as the most dear friend, as the heart of all living entities. He is present. And he says he is equally kind to everyone. So all the warriors who have died on the battlefield, plus the Pandavas, plus Maharaj Yudhishthir, he is equally kind to all, reciprocating with their desires, reciprocating equally with everyone. And he gives an example. Himself, Bhishma Dev, feels grateful, gives a personal example, that how Lord has come now at his final moments to give him darshan. So thus he establishes the glories of Shri Krishna. This is mentioned in 23rd verse or 22nd verse. And this is mentioned in 21st verse, that how he is equally disposed in the hearts of all living entities. And then somebody may say, oh really, Krishna is so great, he is in the heart, he is the supreme personality, he always reciprocates with his devotees. Then Bhishma Dev gives the process how one can access his mercy. In text number 23 he says, how does he appear in the mind of a devotee? How does he appear in devotee's mind? And it is mentioned by attentive devotion. By attentive devotion he appears, and chanting the holy names. So Bhishma Dev says by chanting Lord's names and attentive devotion. Here one of the Mahajans, one of the experts in spiritual science, Bhishma Dev, is mentioning his opinion on how Lord appears. By attentive devotion and chanting his holy names, he appears in the devotee's mind. And then he says, what is the effect of such an appearance? Of appearing in devotee's mind. What is the effect, he says? He says he releases the devotee. So one keeps meditating, one keeps chanting, one keeps associating with the Lord. He releases the devotee from fruitive bondage. all the karmic bondage, which is all the reactions, good and bad, which are binding us in the material world, all the conditioning which are binding us in the material world. Such a meditation releases us after quitting the body. So therefore he says, just meditate on the plan of the Lord and give up all lamentation and grief. But then still a person might have reservation about accepting the plan of the Lord. And Bhishma Dev acknowledges that, and he says in text number 18 and 20, one more point. Bhishma Dev says, one tends to misunderstand the Lord. Whenever Lord manifests in any form, for example, Maharaj Yudhishthira takes him to be a maternal cousin, a friend, a well-wisher, a messenger, but misunderstand that how this Lord is the benefactor of all living entities. He is not only with Maharaj Yudhishthira, but with each of the members who died on the battlefield. He is himself reciprocating with each of them. And because one tends to misunderstand, Bhishma Dev says in text 19, one should understand through Mahajans, through advanced spiritual authorities. One should understand the Lord. Exalted personalities like Shiva, Narada, Kapila. So one tends to misunderstand, please understand this point, that one tends to misunderstand how Lord manifests in one's life a certain plan, how Lord manifests in a certain form, in a certain association, through a certain activity. And therefore one has to understand through Mahajans, just like Bhishma Dev is telling, only Shiva, Narada, Kapila can confidentially understand the Lord's glories. And thus Bhishma Dev, after establishing the glories of the Lord, after explaining tendency to misunderstand and need to understand through Mahajans, then in 24th he offers a prayer to Shri Krishna, asking him, await me at my final moment. Now, as soon as Bhishma Dev talks about final movement, Yudhishthira Maharaj understands that it's time for him to leave the body. Because Bhishma Dev says, await me at my final moment. So as soon as Bhishma Dev makes this prayer, Maharaj Yudhishthira immediately approaches Bhishma Dev for final instructions. For instructions on how to run the kingdom. So he is asking for instructions, and Bhishma Dev gives various instructions, various kinds of topics he explains in text number 26 to 28. Hare Krishna.